Milwaukee PBS is proud to present Next Avenue Community Conversations. Next Avenue brings baby boomers and beyond smart, useful information and compelling conversation. Next Avenue is made possible by the Helen Daniels Bader Fund, a Bader philanthropy with a focus on Alzheimer's disease and healthier older adults. Today, from the Wisconsin Maritime Museum in Manitowoc, our guests discuss how to combat loneliness after 50 with our host, Mark Segrist.
Hello, I'm Mark Segrist. It's great to be with you this evening. We're speaking to you from this great gathering, this beautiful setting here at the Wisconsin Maritime Museum in Manitowoc to address a very important baby boomer issue, that being combating loneliness over the age of 50. Can be challenging, but if one brings the right focus to life, if one is still engaged, active in the community, it makes a huge difference. And our special three guests this evening can help us better understand how to accomplish just that. Let me introduce to you our special guests right now. First of all, we are joined by Tanya Rayback. She serves as, well, she heads up the community engagement for Neighborhood Partners. Great to have you with us this evening.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're also joined by Asta Tim. She is a certified life and relationship coach. And we're joined by attorney Michelle Birschbach, who specializes in trusts, estates, and elder law.
Thank you.
How about a round of applause for our guests tonight? They're wonderful folks. Okay, loneliness, isolation can strike us at any time in our lives, but when it happens when we're 50 or older, we're sort of especially vulnerable. Why is that, Tanya?
I think there's several reasons that make us a little bit more susceptible. First of all, we've been so busy building our career, taking care of our families, that suddenly if it's through retirement or our children gone or unfortunately a loss of a spouse, we don't have those supports anymore. We weren't planning on losing them, but suddenly there we are without some of the strongest supports we have, and we have to go back out there and trying to create new supports.
Generally speaking, Ashta, you know, when this happens to us at this stage of our lives, how unprepared are we for it?
We can be very unprepared because we were used to the busyness of that former life, and we kind of have to hit the pause button, and all of a sudden here we are. So I always like to focus on the positives and kind of think of it, instead of being, oh, here we are, let's think of what now we can create and kind of move forward with excitement a little bit into this next venture of life.
And Michelle, we can be extremely vulnerable, especially if we're starting to date, starting to venture out, bring other people into our lives. How careful do we have to be?
Well, I think you have to be very careful, and I hesitate saying that because I want people to put themselves out there. I think most people are good people, but we do see, unfortunately, certain people that will prey on the lonely. And I think especially with online dating or online relationships, those people want so much to believe that they're making a connection, and it's really a nefarious character who's looking to take advantage of them. So I think you have to put yourself out there, but you have to be smart about it.
Now, these characters that come after us for money or for who knows what, are they doing it all the time, or are they also caught up in the moment, the opportunity that's before them? Or, you know, what is that all about?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I mean, I think there are some people that they just make it their career to try to take advantage of people. And so they'll be out, especially on the online dating. I mean, recently we had a call about somebody that was on one of the national online dating services, and it ended up being a scam situation. And I think that those people are actually out there just looking to scam people. I think others, they're just lonely themselves and they don't know how to meet people. And so then they hear of, especially somebody passing, and so then they reach out to that person right away, almost inappropriately quick, because, you know, they're just trying to make that connection. So we see a little bit of both.
Your outreach program to get people out of the house, to get them active, collaborates with a lot of different organizations and nonprofits. How does it work, and how do you get people back into the mainstream? When you first approach folks in their homes or whatever, is it sort of low-key? What happens?
Very low-key. When we go into a neighborhood, what we try and do is just get a sense of what is in that neighborhood, what assets they have from the neighborhood, but also the individual. So we go in, and what we really try to do is ask everyone, what do they envision for this neighborhood, and what can they offer or be a part of? When you go to someone's door and you knock on it and say that, just dream with me a little bit, it does excite people. But then if you say, oh, great, I want you to head up this meeting or write the minutes, you're not going to get it. So what you need to do is just develop that trust with them and learn about them and find out what type of passions they have, what type of hobbies, interests, and doing this over and over again within that neighborhood, you start to get some common themes. And then you can start bringing people together over what they are passionate about, and those natural relationships start to develop.
Yeah, what are people searching for when they contact you to reach out and to hopefully establish some relationships on a very casual basis?
Right, casually, sometimes they start with trying to fill this void. There's something missing. And a lot of times where we start is you want to refocus on yourself. So it's kind of working from the inside out. And we kind of go over through the whole person. So like you said, you look through interests and hobbies, but also we like to focus on what are your strengths and your talents. Those are important, and lead with those. Also, don't forget what your values are and beliefs. Sometimes values and beliefs can change over time, and we need to revisit those. So it's taking a little bit of time to yourself to really get to know yourself. I mean, when you think about it, what an absurd question. Like, do you know yourself? We hope so. But it also takes a little bit of work. So we start with that work first and then generalize to what exactly are you looking for. Sometimes at this point of life, we know a little bit more of what we need, of what we want, and those things are not selfish. We've been through many experiences.
Well, to what degree do we need to have time, whether we're just recently come from a divorce or the loss of a loved one or who knows what, to what degree do we need to really spend time with ourselves in order to find where we are in a particular stage of our lives?
Yes, I think that is very individualized per person, depending on their past and their past situations. But I don't want to say stay stuck there, because sometimes the longer you stay stuck there, the more this loneliness can grow. And always keeping it positive, let's think about working through this and having a goal set. A time frame set sometimes helps. And it's a process, so nothing that's too quick, but giving yourself enough time to kind of evaluate, heal, and the excitement to move forward.
Michelle, in order to protect ourselves against someone trying to take advantage of us, when we're in a social setting, whether it's a date or whether we're just playing cards with friends down the street, how private do we need to be? How guarded?
I think it depends on the situation. I mean, I think you can find yourself in a situation where it's a lot of your neighbors or people that you casually know, and I think you can be a little more open. But certainly if it's a stranger or if it's somebody you've never met before, I think you want to be a little bit guarded. You don't want to have somebody just come in and be willing to, oh, I'm sorry, you're having trouble paying your bills, I'll help you pay your bills. And I mean, I think you have to be really careful with people to let people in slowly until you build a trust.
What are some of the personality traits, demeanor in people that we should be most cautious of? When should we start to get a little?
So I think it's really hard. The telltale sign, I think, for us is when we have a client who is really spending a lot of time online with somebody and they're claiming that they live in the area, but they can never meet. So they have a date set up, and for whatever reason the date is canceled. Okay, fine, that happens. But if it happens 3, 4, 5 times in a row and they're never actually meeting the person face to face, I think that's really suspect. If it's somebody more locally, I think it's a lot harder, because I think some of these con artists are really good. They know exactly what to say and when to say it, and I think you just have to spend time with them and build trust and take things slow. A lot of times, in our experience, these aren't people that are in it for a year, 2 years. They're in for a couple months hoping to make some quick dollars. And so you can tell relatively quickly if it's a problem.
Now,
Not always.
We're talking about going through this transition in our lives when we're 50 and above, but to what degree do we need to start building skills early on in our life, being social, having a balance in our lives, whether we're married or not, just so that we know how to weave in and out of a crowd, how to socialize at work, how to be, I don't know, approachable. What kinds of things do we need to start working on early in our life?
I think we should always be working on those skills. I think that we should never let them go. Oftentimes people meet other people through their spouse, and once their spouse passes away, they don't have those skills.
It's the friends, it's the friends of the spouse.
Right. Or their work connections. So I would say that before those connections are truly needed, challenge yourself, start taking up a different hobby, get involved in a group, and challenge yourself to start making some intentional relationships. If there's good energy going on, take it outside of that group and see if that person would like to go for a walk, or what else you might have in common, maybe the kids or different hobbies, and really be intentional about it. The other thing too that's so important is that even if you're in a situation where you have a coffee date with a friend and you're like, oh, I'm so tired, I just don't feel like getting ready, and so you blow it off, don't. Take that extra step and push yourself to keep that friendship going, and actually dive even deeper into that friendship and create those supports now before you need them.
Work at it. Some people, though, need more time alone than others, don't they? I mean, some people are better suited to, I don't know, when the weekend rolls around, watch the television, read books, maybe have a little private time. Some of us are better suited for that, right?
Right. Each individual is different. And I say, again, getting to know what is right for you and being confident with that. Because sometimes we go from a place of what we should be doing or others expect of us to be doing, but let's be comfortable with ourselves. And I don't think taking time away from other obligations, like you were saying, go on that coffee date, do these things, because it's not coming from a place of selfishness. It's coming a place where you can grow and then you can share more with others.
It's so hard, though, at the age of 50 plus to pick up the phone and ask somebody out, especially when they've just been through a divorce or separation. It's scary.
For dating, I agree. I agree. You know what?
It's like you're back in the 6th grade and you're asking the cutest girl out in the class and you're afraid of being turned down.
Yes. So back to the confidence. So if you can believe it, it's scary for everybody.
Well, so what's your advice if someone is fighting that fear? It's a real fear.
It is. It is. And knowing two things. One, everybody is scared for different levels, but we're all a little bit nervous about that. And then the advice I give too is, especially at this age, coming into our own, what thing we've accomplished so much. We've had experiences, and just leading with that and going forward with that and sharing that with others. That will build confidence. And I think the more you do it,
right,
the easier it becomes.
Well, you know, in today's society too, Michelle, I mean, folks have to worry about, oh, he's pressuring me, or coming on too hard, or, I mean, what's your advice for folks?
Well, I think people just have to, be smart about it, but don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Because I really do believe that 95% of people, maybe even a higher percentage, are good people. And I don't want people to be so afraid of the potential nefarious characters out there that they don't reach out there and get the support systems around themselves. So I think they have to use their gut. I think they have to take the time. They have to build their group large enough that they can play off of each other to see if there is somebody that's not appropriate.
You know, at what point should we worry about the fact that it's going beyond the situation where we don't want to leave the house or we don't want to venture out? At what point do we have to worry about really slipping into serious depression? Because there's that threshold where it can creep up on you really fast, right?
We'll see that in our office, especially after somebody has lost a spouse, especially if they're very close. And
you're walking around in a daze.
Exactly, and they didn't build the resiliency factors around them during their lifetime, so they don't, either their kids aren't local or they don't have a lot of friends, they're just so lost. On top of that, if it can be different because maybe they never handled the bill paying before, they never handled this before, so they're very scared.
That's where the skill thing comes into play. We should be paying the bills with our partner all along, right?
Oh, yes.
What else should we be doing?
Everybody can do the wash.
Well,
it's serious.
We're talking about daily life skills here.
Exactly.
But
why, everybody's
in some
so
relationships,
different.
is there like the woman's part, the guy part, blah, blah, blah?
It's so important to be able to do both, because I think when you lose somebody, you're so lonely to begin with, and you're so sad, but then you also have that added level of fear because you have all these, these skills that are required for daily living, and you don't know how to do them.
Yeah.
And so learning how to do that ahead of time helps a lot.
And Tanya, you were talking about this earlier, the fact that, you are helping folks in situations where maybe my memory is slipping, but I think you said something about some of the guys that you're trying to reach out to don't really know how to take care of themselves.
Well, they don't know how to take care of themselves. They're used to leaning heavily on one person, and it's not just men. You get to this comfort zone where they are your everything, and you lean and share on each other, and once something happens to that person, it's hard to figure out how to do it on your own. Another problem that we seem to have in our program is how to really actively engage men in meaningful relationships with each other or activities. Women is much more easy. We can really get together through a lot of common interests or just different past experiences. But men, they don't really quite talk as deeply with each other. So to try and find another guy friend that they can share with, it gets difficult for them.
When you were mentioning that, it kind of brought a smile to my face because my father, loved my father. He left us like 15 years ago. But, World War II era dad, okay? But he always said, I don't know how to make coffee. And my mom would always have to make the coffee in the morning. And after a while, I'm beginning to think, does he really know how to make coffee? He just doesn't want to make the coffee. Some folks are really good at, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Role playing so that they don't have to do certain stuff. How do you know when it's real and when someone truly doesn't know how to take care of themselves?
That's something that we always have to look at when we go into a neighborhood and start to meet the individuals. Just on the ride up here tonight, we were talking about an individual that's older, and we're trying to figure out if she really has needs or if they're perceived needs or if she's just sharing information with us, just trying to vent. So it is difficult, and that's why you have to really start working with the people regularly and have the neighbors kind of get to know each other so that they can be those supports. And in time, you start to see where those real needs are, and support them there so that they can lean on each other, but also share.
Yeah. You all work with folks at different stages of their lives, different stages of them, becoming more social. What's it like after you've been helping someone along in this area, and all of a sudden you start to see them blossom? Where the light bulb goes out, they have goes off, and they start to gain confidence. They become social and happy. I mean, are we different people, or are we just changed people? Changed people.
Go ahead.
I think that it's a little different because they have different experiences which shape us all, but it's really more of their authentic self.
Really?
Just re-emerging.
We always have it within us, it just doesn't come out sometimes?
I think so. I think sometimes when you go into isolation, depression usually sets in, and it's just a downward spin, and it's hard to get yourself out of there. But when you start connecting with other people, especially around a shared interest, you start having that value, you start feeling good about yourself, you come alive. It's like you're awakened again, and it's really inspiring to watch that.
And when you help facilitate a relationship that's real and good and positive for both concerned, what's that like for you?
That's amazing, because again, all these things come together, and now it's not just one person shining, it's two. But of course, it does take being brave to put yourself out there, to be vulnerable again at a certain stage. That's a lot. But it is, again, it's almost like work, but then your work pays off. And it's not only our work, but the individual's works, and they know, and then they want to share, and it's kind of a cascading effect.
Yeah.
Well, how do you strike that balance between, okay, if you turn down, you ask again, and maybe a third time, whatever, but how do you balance that with the advice that you might give people sometimes along the lines of, just let it happen. If it's supposed to be, it's going to happen. I mean, how do you strike that balance between persistent, within reason,
Right.
and just letting it unfold, just letting it happen?
Because again, I think it is about being confident in yourself, and then also relaxing and enjoying the process. So yes.
Oh, okay. But you're so nervous during the process.
Yes, true,
But you can't enjoy
the
it.
questions, you can enjoy it. I think, and that is the important part. If we do have all these different factors coming in where you have to be guarded because of what's out there, you have to be safe, and that has to be at a certain level. But also you want to open up, and so people can really get to know you. Just kind of putting yourself, stepping aside and letting it happen. And when you say naturally or how persistent, but again, a balance. So persistence sometimes, depending on which scope, male or female, persistence can sometimes be very honorable, and it could be a very good thing. So just don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
And Michelle, I know in your practice you see happiness, you see sadness, but how do you communicate to your clients, look, you're going through a tough time, but it ain't the end of the world?
Well, you know, and that's basically what you say in a nicer way, depending upon where you are and where they are in the grieving process. It's also a matter, I think, of when we have a client come in, if we physically can tell that they're depressed. And you can tell sometimes. I'll have a client that will dramatically lose weight from appointment 1 to appointment 3. Then we'll start talking to them about, you know, if they're not able to get those resources around them, we start recommending resources to them. You know, are they reaching out for volunteer opportunities? Who are they talking to? How are they putting themselves out there? Not always dating, but, you know, other options in the community to just try to make sure that they're taking care of themselves.
Yeah. Where does the joy come in? I mean, when you're helping people through these transitions, where does the joy come in for you? When do you just feel like, yeah, this is working and it's making me feel good as a professional counselor?
Well, in our work, in the neighborhood work, when you see different relationships form that otherwise wouldn't have, that is very rewarding. When you see an older person working with a high school student and they're excited to learn about each other, that's very rewarding.
Yeah.
And what's really rewarding is when you see these relationships that otherwise wouldn't form and they go so deep that you can walk away and they will still be sustained.
And to what degree does it spread when you see 2 or 3 people in the crowd gaining confidence and beginning to open up? Is it contagious?
It is contagious. I think there's a certain level of energy that happens when people start getting excited about an event, an idea, or what is happening. That positive energy does spill over, and it's inspiring.
How often have you been fooled by, you know, when you're first giving some counsel to someone who you think, no, this ain't going to work? How often have you been truly fooled?
Fooled by the person presenting
By
themselves
being,
to me.
you know, having more than you thought they had in order to, you know, advance in their life and get back out in the dating game and, you know, be alive again.
Yes, I think I get fooled quite frequently, not in a bad way, but people do want to present themselves their full best self in appearance-wise. And that's kind of where the vulnerability kind of slides to the end. But getting to know and coming forth exactly as you are, and again, in a relaxed manner, then you're the real person's out there. And I think it's so important to lead with that, not to fool.
So in a nutshell, Michelle, how do we get through this challenging period?
You mean after somebody passes?
Yeah, and you know, you're trying to force yourself to get out and to be alive again. I mean, what are the keys to success?
Well, I think surrounding yourself with good support systems is the key. You know, if it's your children, if it's other family members, if it's friends, knowing that you're not alone, that there are resources out there to help them, I think is really the key. And just really helping to, you know, especially for some people, empowering them that they can do it. You know, giving them the confidence, helping them along, and then seeing them grow and get the confidence, and just knowing that this will pass. And whatever they need to do to rely on, whether it's volunteers, whether it's friend, whether it's faith, whether it's other professionals, you just encourage them to get those support systems around
I got to
them.
ask you.
Yeah.
I'm just dying to ask you. When you're talking about rascals, what's the worst rascal you ever dealt with?
Oh boy. So the worst one, a farming community, I think, is probably the worst that I've seen. I think the farm is a very emotional asset, and it's really hard nowadays with the price of land to just get into farming, so you have to inherit it, right? So we do frequently see widows. If they have a farm, there are what we call widower hunters out there that will actually try to focus in on those widows to try to, you know, line themselves up to get a farm. And we've had people actually be contacted before the funeral.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever had to sit down with a client and say, hey, look, you better wake up because I'm seeing this happening, you're not?
Yes, I have actually, and it's always uncomfortable because sometimes the kids will see it happening and they try to reach out, and of course the parents don't look at them as an authority figure, right? So then the parents will talk to us and then we'll say, hey, are you being careful? Are you being safe? Are you sure this is a good relationship? And you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we have to build up, you know, legal constraints to protect the person from their own bad decision making, and it all stems to that core loneliness. They're just so lonely. They just want to believe so much. Certainly the guy that tried to connect right before the funeral, that client caught on real quick. So that was
really.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a lot of joy in being a life coach and a matchmaker, but Is there ever a point where you take a client aside and say, look, don't call him anymore, he's trouble? I mean, do you ever have to be very candid about it? Where you see
yes.
something that a client may not be picking up on?
Oh, often, because a lot of people are working from this place of emotion, and who doesn't want to hear, great complimentary things, and they want to fill this void. And it's so outwardly apparent to everybody else. But there are these red flags, and I think if you get to know red flags and what you should stay away from, I always tell people, operate from a place of your heart, but also bringing your brain with you. It can't just be one. It has to be both. It has to be a balance of both.
Yeah, that's beautifully expressed. It really is. What's the best day you ever had in getting somebody out of the house, back into the mainstream? The best day?
I'm fortunate. I've had quite a few very great days. But there was one older individual who was very depressed. His family walked away from him. And when we came up to him and we're talking about the neighborhood and what he'd like to see and be a part of, he just told us he has nothing to give. It's pointless. And I just looked at him and I just thought, oh my gosh, there's so much that he can give. There's a history, all the things that he learned. I know that there's interest in there, and I know that once you just bring them out, he's going to come to life. He definitely took a lot of time to work with, but the whole community, actually, once he put himself out there, they started welcoming him. And little by little, he started doing cards with them and getting out more, doing picnics with them.
Wow.
And after a few months, I had to focus somewhere else, and I came back, and I mean, he knew me and he was happy to see me, and I couldn't even believe. I was like, oh my gosh, is that really you? I thought he was almost a different person in the same person's body. It was mesmerizing. I was taken back.
Well, thank you. Aren't they great? Aren't they just terrific?
Thank you.
Tanya, Asta, and Michelle, thank you so much. Also, special thanks to our friends here at the Wisconsin Maritime Museum for hosting our gathering, and of course to our good friends at Helen Daniels Bader Fund, a Bader Philanthropy, for their generous support throughout this really compelling series. And of course, to view our Next Avenue Community Conversations, all you have to do is reach us at MilwaukeePBS.org, follow the links. Not only these discussions, but Next Avenue Community Conversation moments. The producers work very hard at it. It's really good stuff to watch. For all of us here at Milwaukee PBS, I'm Mark Segrist, and thank you for being with us.